Welcome back for another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Find us on Facebook.com/superfunpodcast, Twitter.com/superfunpodcast, Patreon.com/superfunpodcast, Instagram @superfunpodcastgo, iTunes @Superfun Game Review Podcast Go. Thanks and enjoy the show.
Welcome back for another episode of Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go! Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it.
Season 3, baby.
Ooh!
Season 3.
The big 3.0. To my right, I have Harry.
Otacon fucked his stepmom.
He did.
That's not a quote.
He really did. To the left, I have Ramp.
You must be Ames. A dud. The la-le-lu-le-lo.
How?
Are you doing 7
miss
fucking
you.
intro lines? Like, what the fuck?
No, I'm done.
Hey.
I miss you.
Hey, Ralph. You do you, boo-boo. Mr. Clock.
There's a fine line between legends and madmen.
And I will be your host, Steve. I hear it's amazing when the famous purple stuffed worm in Flapjaw Space with a tooting fork does a raw blink on a harikiri rock. I need scissors. 61! Here we go. Metal Gear Solid 2. Let's do it. Give me some initial impressions.
Sons of Liberty.
Thank you, Ralph.
All right, this was the first Metal Gear I actually played and beaten.
Before 1, right?
Before 1.
Okay.
I
Mind fuck.
Yeah, I just picked this game up, like dirt cheap, mid-generation of PS2 to play through, because I've always heard great things about Metal Gear Solid. First time playing through the game, a lot of things didn't make sense, because they referenced the first game quite a few times.
A little bit. Here and there, about like 80% of the game.
Playing through this time, I did piece a lot of things together from the first game. I wish we would have played them a little closer together, because I did miss certain details, having almost 2 years passed since playing this.
We'll just play Metal Gear 3 sooner than later.
Yeah,
That sounds
don't
good.
worry, Harry, right around the corner.
But no, it's an interesting experience, and I'm curious to see how the discussion goes tonight.
Awesome. Mr. Clockmain.
Being as big a fan of Metal Gear Solid, the original, as I was, picked this up and played it like as soon as it came out, and I forgot just how fucking crazy and off the rails this game goes.
I know, right?
But also, I gotta say this, replaying this and seeing how Kojima just put the narrative together, just instantly I was like, the dude's a genius. Like, this is my first time going back to it since I played it originally, really, and I instantly saw like the genius that was Kojima just immediately in the game.
For your official analysis, Ralph.
Well, to go off what Clark was saying, it was almost prophetic, right? Because he made this game, let's say, in 2000, released it in 2001. He essentially called what society would be sort of like in 2 decades.
Oh yeah, that like the foresight that he had when writing the script in 1999, 2 months after the first one came out, like just incredible.
On point.
I played this game in preparation for Metal Gear Solid 4 when it came out in 2009. And I wasn't a fan when Metal Gear 2 came out. I basically missed the hype for this game, and I played this game in college just before Metal Gear Solid 4 came out, and I was trying to get, completely caught up with the story and context, and I wasn't quite prepared for how deep the rabbit hole went, I guess, having only played really Metal Gear Solid 3, which was just, like a fun romp, in my opinion, at that time, and playing the first one, which, got a little deep, but this one just goes like way off the deep end with conspiracy and memes and the whole Patriots.
The wise men.
Yeah, the wise men. Ultimately, though, I did fall in love with the franchise and the characters and the story, and I kind of think it's a watershed for Kojima. Like, I don't want to say that it's the best game in the series, but there are a lot of things about this game that still hold up, and I almost want to say it's the peak, but I can't quite do it. I can't commit to it, but it's like the peak of the franchise.
Understandable. I was hooked from the very first game, period. Like in the late 90s, once I actually started playing Metal Gear 1, there's no way that I could go back. As soon as I heard that they were making a sequel to it and saw Solid Snake, which is the only thing you saw with the initial trailers, I was on board from the get-go. Let's do this. Here we go. Once I got through the demo and actually got the game and saw where it went, I wasn't happy about it initially, but I think the way the game actually played out, it brought me back a little bit, but still kind of lost me. I don't know, but we'll get into that.
Sorry, the one I just wanted to mention real quick. So you said this is like the peak of the franchise?
He didn't want to say this is the peak.
No, I think what he's trying to say is it's the peak of the story. Like,
Okay.
So the amount of information that you get in this game is explained in the next 3 games. Like, there is just parts of this game that get dissected and explained out in the next 3 games. 3, 4, and 5 all tie back to this moment. Because so 4 is after the events here, but 3 and 5 are the events that lead up to a bunch of the thematic themes that are in the game.
I guess this kind of goes along with my first impressions, because when people have talked to me about the Metal Gear series, for a long time I only told them I played the second one. A lot of people were like, oh, well, you played the worst one in the series. So I don't know, just hearing that made me think, like, were people telling me the wrong thing, or do you have a completely different opinion than the general opinions I've gotten from other people?
I think that may come along with the people who played the first one who started with Snake. And then once you start playing this game, you only play him for 45 minutes to like an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long it took you to get through the tanker. And then it switches, which starts to take away from the actual experience, because Raiden makes appearances through the actual Metal Gear Solid series, but through the numerical series, not so much to an extent.
We're getting into story here, but
a little bit, yeah.
Raiden is polarizing, or most people just hate him. I think what I'm trying to say is that this is peak Kojima, and from here he's backpedaling.
I could agree.
If that makes sense.
A little bit.
Because And I'm not trying to get into the other games, but he was like, okay, this is the last one I want to do. And then he was forced to do another one. Then he's okay, this is the last one I want to do. And he's forced to do another one. And I don't want to say that there's a diminishment in quality, but I think this is peak Kojima in terms of the story. Not in terms of gameplay mechanics, not in terms of how big the map is, anything like that. I kind of feel like this is him doing exactly what he wanted to do. And from here on out, Konami basically started to close in on him until ultimately there was the falling out with 5, and now he's on to greener pastures. So that's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Sorry, it took me a while to get.
No, that's fine.
It
just threw me off when you said that. That's why I wanted just a little bit of clarification.
So we can get into that in story segment, but for right now, let's just kind of move along and get into some game development.
Game development.
So obviously, Kojima, released in 2001. This was in development for years beforehand, which I'm actually glad they took a little extra time. Now, so being older and realizing the work that actually gets put into the games and how long it was between Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2, it was necessary, at least to kind of build everything up.
So I have an interesting little fact here about this. So you had said earlier about the Snake switch.
Yeah.
That was kept a secret until the launch of the game. They even went as far as showing footage of Snake in the trailers in situations that Raiden actually was in the game.
I remember that.
Been bamboozled.
I was upset.
They also had to alter some key situations in the game due to the political theater at the time. One of the big changes was New York. They were having the Statue of Liberty crashing through it, and it was cut down to just show it resting, but they originally had it crashing down. This game came out 2 months after 9/11.
Yeah, this was November 2001.
And they made that change 2 months before the release of the game.
Yeah.
I want to say that you can tell, like, the end is kind of choppy, like Arsenal's moving, and then boom, you're just like... Federal Hall, you're just there.
Kojima thought it would be extremely distasteful to actually have the player see Arsenal going through New York because of it's a giant weapon falling into New York.
When it's coming, I mean, that'd be very disrespectful, and that is not the way things are done.
I also think that a lot of those shots probably had the World Trade Center in the background, and they wanted to remove that so that I guess it doesn't date the game, and also out of respect. So they removed that.
Yeah.
The portions that show that skyline, I think that's why it's so choppy, and why part of the reason they did what they did.
I would definitely say more out of respect, because they did that with the Spider-Man movie that was coming out like that year, pretty much. Not to go off topic, but that was a extremely sensitive subject, and especially because New York is a central point of films, movies, music, games, the rest of it.
Culture.
Exactly. That was like a main standpoint, and World Trade Centers were right there in the middle of it, and like downtown, you can't keep that in and not look like, why did they do that? A harsh remembrance.
Apparently, originally, the flagpole for Federal Hall was supposed to have the American flag, and Ryden was going to cut the rope to it, and it was going to fall on Solidus and drape over him. But all American flags were removed from the game after the 9/11 attacks.
Yep.
That one, I'm not 100% sure.
He didn't want to do the whole graceful soldier death.
That'll get into it when we get to story. I have questions for you guys about Solidus. We'll come back to it, I think.
Okay. I have another interesting little thing, and this is about the composer. Kojima was watching the movie The Replacement Killers, and he and the lead designer burned a mix CD of songs that guy had composed.
Harry Gregson Williams.
Yes, Harry
Yes.
Gregson Williams. They burned a CD, like a mix CD, of all these different tracks that they loved of his from different movies, and sent it to him. We're like, hey, we really want to work with you. And he wasn't going to do it originally. And then he was like talking to his agent, and the agent was like, oh yeah, they sent you this. It's just a mix CD of all your songs. And he's like, what? And he listened to the CD, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to do this.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Yep, flattery
all
will
it
get you
takes.
everywhere. He said that in an interview.
Yeah.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
When they have a budget like they did at the time, they had a budget of $10 million for this game. That was a lot for the time. I mean, when you're talking about like late 90s when this was actually in development for release, in the 2000s, that's a lot. And they really spared no expense. And that's where you actually, I know Harry will get to it a little later with probably the cutscenes. They really went all out on that. They wanted the facial expressions. They wanted the mouth moving to actual audio and everything else, where on the back end where we're playing it, it can seem a little monotonous at times, but that's where we have to realize that they were trying. This really kind of did break out from a lot of other games at the time to provide that to the players, because there weren't really a lot of games really focused in on that type of thing. And it's hard to do that during gameplay situations, but that's why they went very heavy on the cutscenes for the most part.
This game's one of the first pillars for the high bar of the PS2.
It really is.
I wanted to just throw out there a quick
So this is actually the second time now that Kojima has gone and made a game that came out first, at least on PlayStation, and set the bar for adventure games behind it to live up to. Because if you didn't have a giant cinematic story after this, you weren't a AAA title.
Exactly.
He did that with Metal Gear, and then he came out and did it again with MGS3 or MGS2, and then he will go on to do that again.
Yeah, exactly. Not only just the visual aspect, but the actual interaction aspect. It's not so much where, if you compare it to the first Metal Gear Solid, where if you're spotted, the enemies just kind of come in and spread everywhere. They have a group mentality. It's an actual militaristic mentality of stick together, keep in small lines, go up this corridor so we can start blocking them off. It started to get a lot more real when it came. It was a lot more focused and directed with the way they actually developed the game engine. They really did push the limit and then set the standard for everything.
Going off of that, actually, this is the first game in the series to use motion capture that had a military advisor.
Oh, really?
So all of that ties together, that they wanted to bring something with that level of
caliber.
See what you did there. Realism.
Yes.
The motion capture was there to inspire the realism that they were really going for with this game. The original plot that Kojima came up with was involving nuclear weapons in Iraq and Iran, but
Yep.
decided, okay, I'll scrap that, and we got the story that we
Smart
got.
idea.
Apparently, there was a 2-player mode, I guess like a co-op in development, but it never went any further than, I guess, just not speculation. Jesus, I can't say anything right tonight. Sorry, guys.
He's just pulling
You're
random
doing
words out of his
great. I
vocabulary.
promise.
No, I'm
You're
not.
doing great.
I need to use the sleep. At least I'm editing
Which
this.
was out of speculum.
That point is rotisserie.
I say the wrong strawberry. I say the wrong cranberry.
You would.
A 2-player mode. I thought maybe co-op. I don't know. It never got out of development. I don't think they've done that. I don't think they've done any co-op stuff with Metal Gear. That would be difficult to do. I think to really pull it off right.
I do have a point.
Okay.
So with the focus on Raiden in this game, they were going for a different direction with Snake because playing as him in the previous game, you're learning about him through his eyes in a way. But this way, by having him as like a side character, they can build his story and see the image of Snake through somebody else's eyes.
How he's perceived.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's-
that was Kojima's goal by making Raiden, yeah.
Exactly.
You're making him a legend, which he would hate to hear.
I'm not going to elaborate on that. I think it speaks for itself. But
Yeah. No, I think that was a very crucial point.
Kojima was inspired by L.A. Confidential, the movie. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but he wanted to have each of the characters lie to each other at some point, like pull over one. And what comes to mind for me is at the end of the game when Raiden thinks he has like the actual list and thinks like, nope, we gave you a fake list of the Patriots. That's just the example. So he saw L.A. Confidential. Was like, I want to have all my characters lie to each other.
Well, it's prominent throughout the game.
Yeah.
Everybody lied. Literally, everybody lies to each other at some point in the game.
Yep.
Nailed it.
Konami employees were given like idea books, and they were asked to each day write at least one idea to try to implement into the game. An example of that would be like the freeze spray for the bombs is one that came from these notebooks that employees were to just jot down ideas and then they
Really?
would test. The Discovery, the tanker, the actual name of the tanker is a reference to 2001, just like in Metal Gear Solid. Dave and Hal is a reference to 2001. Apparently, it's Kojima's favorite movie.
All right, and now a natural transition into story.
Story.
So let's lead off with this. Was anybody else misled about Olga's character?
Wait, are you starting story right now?
You're not the host.
Yeah, he's the host.
Okay.
I was just joking. Like, I was just doing my...
Well, you know what? With that case, let's laugh and grow fat and get into some story.
Laugh and grow fat.
Thank you.
Story.
So I was going to say, was anybody misled by the character Olga? On one side, she sounds very Russian. But
Yeah.
then you look at her armpits and think, wow,
French.
she must be from France.
She's French.
Oh, castle.
I'll tell you one thing about Olga. She's fucking fearless.
Jesus.
My name's Olga Golupovich. I'm fucking fearless. No, but really,
I am fucking fearless.
I am fucking fearless.
I am fucking
I
fearless.
fight you on boat. That's great. Give me 2 years. I am in ninja suit, and I tried to cut off hand, but I'm still helping you.
So
That was actually a very depressing storyline for her, just saying.
this story in this game brings like a very relevant meme to mind. Did you
Okay.
ever see that meme where it's like it plays the music, it's like "Dun, dun, dun," it shows like all the question marks around the girl just like thinking there,
Yeah.
everything. I could just imagine like words like Dead Cell and the Patriots and Big Boss, just like all these
Nanomachines.
words floating around her head.
You know who
Just-
Big Boss is.
Yeah, I do know who Big Boss is,
Yeah.
but
And you know who Dead Cell is.
I don't remember Dead Cell.
They're the
that's
4 terrorists.
Vamp and
Okay,
Fortune and Fat Man.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying there's a lot of like codes and organizations and lots of
GW.
names, like
Arsenal
just
Gear.
tons of names thrown around that
There
I
is-
think you can easily get lost in this.
Solidus
for sure.
and Solid and Liquid.
And Solidus.
I said that first.
Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry.
So
But-
that's kind of what I was saying about how like crazy this story can get, and when we were talking about the peak, like all of this stuff, he sets up so much that he spends the next 3 games kind of like explaining what happened in 2. I feel like
That started from game 1 or at least from Metal Gear Solid 1. Everything started to ramp up and build up and start to take off from there. It's almost like...
No, it started with Snake's Revenge, okay? Snake's Revenge is where everything really started.
You're going all the way back to Outer Heaven?
Yeah,
Nope,
I'm kidding.
we're not.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
No, I thought
I'm
we were just
making
gonna
a
keep
joke.
it-
Oh my God.
Snake's
Settle
Revenge was
down,
not made
for
by
fuck's sake.
Kojima. I'm making a joke.
But it's pretty much where, at least for this series of the Metal Gear Solid series, it starts from Metal Gear Solid, the first game, and then you learn so much in number 2, and you don't really learn the majority of it until like the last 25-30% of the game. Like, you really don't get like the entire encompassing story of where you find out Olga is the ninja that you meet way back in the beginning.
Why don't we like cover the actual story?
Let's-
Hold on.
let's do chronological. Let's
because
start in the
we're
beginning-
starting to go
start in the
to
beginning.
like abstract around the main story. We should cover the main story first and then do the abstract stuff.
All right,
Absolutely.
So start from beginning of the game. Here's Snake. He's on a tanker. He's looking for Metal Gear. He starts making his way through Metal Gear, finds out there's a brand new Metal Gear. Here's Metal Gear Ray. It's fucked up. It's amphibious. It's going to take down a lot of stuff. Little does he know, it's so much bigger from that.
Yeah, I want to say that I really like the way that the game starts, and I like the setting of it being in New York, like on the Hudson River. I don't know why, but as I go back to the game, I feel like I really enjoy the setting, because usually it's in like a wasteland, or it's in Russia, or it's wherever. It's like, this is
Damn
New
Ruskies.
York City. Go. The opening is kind of like, it plays homage to Terminator 2, or Terminator in general, all over the place with the electricity and everything. And I always felt that him bungee jumping onto the ship didn't really look right, but I want to say that I played the HD version this time, and I think the PS2 original is just a little muddy in that section because it's dark and there's the rain and it's not
gross.
that clear. With this, it's a little bit more, it just sheds a little bit more light, and I felt like I got it this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm an HD snob, and I had to play it on HD. I couldn't go back to the PS2.
Can't fault you for that.
So what if the story kicked off with him bungee jumping, but he mistimed it? It's just him flap against the side of the ship.
That's what you're laughing about.
Well, that'd be the worst $50 ever spent, period.
Snake!
I don't know. Just I thought it would be funny imagery.
Now, there's another clone that'll get
So-
somewhere.
Metal Gear Ray is actually developed by the Marines.
It's built by the Marines, but is it developed by the Marines?
By the end of the tanker, you take a picture, it says Marines on the side.
The
so
Patriots.
It's property of the quote-unquote Marines.
Yes, that's true. I do want to say that I think it's, in that moment for the story, it's kind of clunky the way they say, remember, you're part of philanthropy now, the anti-Metal Gear,
Yeah.
two-man army that we are, ... It's a little clunky with the exposition.
It's like a forced update of the
It is.
story,
It
as
really
it
is.
is, yeah.
And the fact that what they're doing is for the betterment of humanity, and they named it philanthropy, literal, is just, to me, it's a little uninspired. Everything else in the game's crazy, but that to me just kind of
well, towards the end, it kind of comes around, but we'll get there.
The tanker, I think, is a really fun set piece.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Did enjoy that.
I think it's probably one of the better areas.
You get a little bit of everything, and it's already like it's gameplay, but a little more of like a tutorial before you get a tutorial.
The ship is the mini sandbox.
Yeah, exactly. That's where you start to learn the mechanics. You can see where everything lies, and it really starts to set the baseline of the story that you're ramping up to once you start to take over.
I really
as
feel...
Raiden.
Oh, sorry. I really feel like we need to say that the whole tanker portion was basically the demo, and it was on the Zone of the Enders disc. And I mean, even in the demo, there's no hint of Raiden. There's just you people probably put more hours into the tanker than they ever thought that they would, and then they get the game, and then there's the switch with Raiden. And just I can understand why there was such a backlash.
Well, yeah.
For that twist.
When you're playing as Snake and you can finally actually have a first-person perspective, which was almost non-existent by that point, and then to have Snake taken away from you, it's like, well, hey, what the fuck? I feel a little slighted by this point.
Going back to the tanker, I wanted to say that all the interactions between Snake and Otacon I think are really funny when it comes to the codec and saving your game, and you can take the pictures of different things on the tanker, and then when you do the upload, you'll get different dialogue from Otacon based on what you took a picture of. If it was a good picture, a bad picture, a picture of a chick. Oh, it's a poster.
The
He'll
poster
say
girls?
something. Yeah, the poster girls.
I didn't find that out by mistake. What?
He's like, oh, I can't believe you took a picture of this. I'm just going to make a backup of it.
Yeah. That's a personal spank bank.
We do also get the very beginnings of Ocelot being a triple agent and the betrayal and just how deep does this rabbit hole go. We thought it was going to be a straightforward mission. The Russians show up. He betrays the Russians. He's working with them. No, he's with the Patriots. The la-le-lu-le-lo.
And a little bit of a close-up of the hand, and you get a little bit of hint of there might be something a little extra to Ocelot in the second round.
Oh, doesn't he talk? Doesn't he talk as Liquid?
He does.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that real quick. Does anybody else think that that's just a little too goofy?
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
I love the game, but at the same
100%.
time, 100% agree, like Clark said.
Although, did you ever think about how you could explain that?
Well, I mean, if you're
Well,
coming down to
it's-
like DNA sequence and everything else.
Well, it's not only that. The whole reason that like Liquid really is still attached and hanging on is because of the nanomachines.
Well,
His soul is imprinted on the nanomachines,
Oh, you're saying when they did the graph of the hand, those nanomachines went into Ocelot.
and they're interacting with Ocelots.
which he already had his own, so Liquid's were stronger. Inner Space.
It's a good movie.
It is.
Harry, you're being very uncharacteristically quiet.
I have
Yeah. Are you waiting
For the
for, like
tanker,
the
yeah,
main?
what-
Or for,
we'll focus on the tanker then, and then we'll move on, I guess.
I mean,
I think they revealed very early and quite clearly that was Liquid's arm.
yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it wasn't like a moment that flash forwards later in the game that it's like, oh, this big reveal. I think they revealed it and it was pretty clear. And I don't think if you picked up on that early, I think you were missing something.
Well, if
not
you watch
so much
it,
the game.
also if you watch it with the captions on, it literally says like Liquid instead of
Yeah.
Ocelot.
with
I'm just saying that, like
Shalashaska.
it wasn't a hint. Yeah.
Can we move fast forward, or is there?
You don't have anything to say about the tanker?
Well, it was the best part of the game.
Oh, okay.
And then the last thing you see is the tanker flooding, and you pretty much expect everyone's dead except Shalashaska, Revolver Ocelot, who's in Metal Gear Ray, and just kind of poop disappears into the water.
Oh, yeah, I have a question.
And you see Snake surface as well.
Yeah. Can a mech do a backflip?
Yeah, why not?
Super amphibious one.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you have that much government funding, it can do anything you want to. Yes.
All right, so at this point, we fast forward 2 years.
Yes.
It's Raiden's first mission.
Little bitch.
Word is that Snake is dead.
But he's done 300 missions in VR. It's indistinguishable from the real thing.
Which okay, so he brings up VR so many times in the story.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's annoying.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely.
His character, since we're in story, his character in general is kind of annoying.
Well, he has nothing else to go off of.
He's a chicken wuss.
Yes.
The thing about Raiden, and yes, it's annoying, but he's also like he becomes a part of the story here because he's nobody beforehand, if that makes sense.
Oh,
so
he's
like,
Jack the
yeah.
Ripper.
you know what I mean, though.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's the introduction of a character that no one knows anything about, and he's learning all of this stuff. So, like, I got annoyed as he was just constantly asking questions, but, like, also he's, like, asking the right questions for, like, what you want to know about what's going on, because you, as the player, are in the exact same position as Raiden. You have no fucking idea what's going on half the game. There's just lies, and you're being lied to, and you have, like, your little visual cues and things like that, but, like, you pick up on them, but Raiden doesn't, and, like, it's this weird thing where I don't think that Kojima ever intended us to be immersed as Raiden, if that makes sense. Like, you know how games have a lot of immersion to them, where you're like, oh, I feel like I can, like, relate to Snake.
Usually
and
it's
things
a
like that.
silent protagonist for immersion.
Exactly. For this, I don't think I feel like a lot of people like like Snake because
They want to be Snake.
they want to be Snake. They can relate to Snake. No one wants to be Raiden. No one wants to be that kid. And what happens to him and things like that. Like, no one wants that. So
No one wants Rose's naggy
Well,
girlfriend.
I'll say, just to kind of disagree with you a little bit, for people who have played the first game, you get to basically teach Raiden to be Snake, because the lead up in the beginning of the game is playing as Snake. That's what you want. That's what you expect. And then once that shift happens, you're like, oh shit, I'm not Snake. I'm going to play as Snake. And here he is. He's, he doesn't know what he's doing. You're basically, the drill. You're going to teach him how to be like this super soldier. It's not going to happen right away, but it takes that development. So I almost see it as just that.
We're the Colonel?
Yeah, kind of, but it's more you know what? You are.
This is getting too meta for me. I can't.
You
yeah,
are
I don't.
No. You are playing.
I don't know about all that. Honestly,
You are the master to Snake to Raiden. You are playing his master. You are teaching him everything
oh my God,
you know.
What is happening?
Steve, what?
No, you remember? I'm not trying to just drum up from the first game, but Master. Master taught.
Oh, Master Miller. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Yeah,
Master
yeah.
Miller. He taught Snake everything he knew. You were playing Master to Raiden. Obviously Snake is there to kind of guide and give assistance when Raiden doesn't know what's going on. But you are literally the one who's teaching him, because you have been in this exact same situation for the most part before, which we'll get more in with the story towards the end of what you realize what's going on.
Well,
but
wait. Wouldn't Snake be more like Master?
No, I disagree.
You don't see that?
I see us as a player more of Master than Snake is, because we're giving more to Raiden than Snake actually
I've got a headache.
gives.
Yeah, I don't know if the player's involved in the game at all.
Are you playing the game?
Yeah, but you're
Okay, then you're involved. You're teaching him. That's it.
Okay,
You're
okay,
teaching
hold
him.
on,
Look,
hold
But
on.
I don't think you're involved in the story, Steve.
Whoa.
But that gets into the fringe thing, which is brought up a couple times in the podcast. It's it's the story that you make of it kind of thing, not so much the story. I feel like we need to stay away from that discussion, because that's
No, this is a linear game. You have no other option to go out of than what he has to do. You just know better from playing the first game. If you come in
I know. I just think your argument for Raiden was kind of getting onto that fringe. I'm the trainer and I'm teaching him.
Yeah, all I was saying was there was an immersion to playing Raiden. That's it.
Yeah, and
there's no immersion to playing as Raiden.
if that's the way you feel, okay.
Immersion is you see yourself as Raiden.
Yet, if that's the way you feel, okay. I get what you're saying. I'm not arguing that.
But
I'm
you
just-
you agreed with me, because you don't see yourself as Raiden. You see yourself as some other master character.
as the one who's actually teaching him how to be a soldier, because all he has to go off of is VR.
Oh, my
Here's
chest hurts.
situation.
I don't feel so good.
That's fine. Move on. That's fine. Go ahead. You don't have to argue any point.
Die.
So
You start as Raiden.
Yeah, you start as Raiden on Big Shell.
All right, so
Go.
I guess just let's break it down into bullet points, just to get through the story, and then we could nitpick at some of those.
You slip on seagull poop.
So I guess the
Yeah.
big focus is rescue the president, disarm the bombs on the shells.
And the hostages.
Yeah, that's the first act.
Yeah.
Is pretty much those are your two goals.
So you're running around kind of doing that. You get to the president. President starts kind of...
What about the bombs? We have to do the bomb.
Well, I was giving bullet points, and then we can dive into the...
But that happens before the president.
Yeah.
Before you talk
Yeah.
to the president.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
the
bullet
lead-
pointing.
the-
There was
yeah, the
there's
lead up to
bombs,
the-
president, hostages.
Okay.
Just to progress the storyline. Just so we don't dive into huge discussions on literally every section of the game, because I don't think it's warranted.
Well, you don't.
2 hours later.
But no, I think Clark's right. I think that is the first act of the game.
Yeah.
Disarming the bomb. The very on the surface mission stuff.
You're learning the area, and then it kind of goes from there.
Yeah. So I think second act kind of starts when you're talking to the president, because he's the first one, I think, that starts spoon feeding you information that there's something deeper going on here. Am I correct in saying that?
I would.
That he's a puppet? Yeah.
I would almost disagree of second act, but that is a very pivotal point. I would call that third. Second is when you start learning about Snake himself, because that's like right in between when you start to kind of like dividing between Iroquois Pliskin and Solid Snake, and it starts like blurring.
But there's only
together
ever
a little
usually
bit.
like 3 acts to a.
The Harrier boss fight is the middle point of the game.
Mm-hmm. And that's when you. Sorry, go ahead.
Before the president.
That's before president. That's when you learn of. That's when you learn.
Oh my
This
god!
discussion.
No.
Brutal.
Hold on.
Just gonna
Seriously,
stop.
no.
Hold on.
No. Just give me a second. That's when you learn of Solidus Snake and Solid Snake, because up to that point they called Solidus Solid Snake.
That's true.
Which is not accurate. He's Solidus, which Snake points out, and that's where you learn that Solid Snake is Solid Snake. I would call that the beginning of it an act on its own, or at least when that information comes in. That's all I'm saying between Solid Snake, President, timeline.
So I guess one point to touch on. So they talked about Snake being dead. That fact didn't fool me for 1 second.
Nope.
No, I think it was pretty clear right from the get-go.
David
that
Hayter
Snake-
is a
A
giveaway.
little bit.
And especially when that character comes in. What did he call himself?
Iroquois Pliskin.
Iroquois Pliskin, yes.
Lieutenant Junior Grade.
Everybody knew that was Snake right away.
Yeah.
There's no denying.
So just knowing that going forward, it wasn't a big spoiler when he finally comes to light that, oh, I'm Snake.
We
Or-
knew.
What was interesting is-
it's information to write.
Yeah,
True.
to him for the actual story, but as a player, it's like I know who the fuck you are.
Also, we didn't know that
What,
there was
Harry?
a.
No.
I was
What?
going to say, I was in such disillusion because I was immersed in Raiden.
Oh, were you? You were that deep? You were immersed.
Wait,
In those hips?
Wait, hold on. You're telling me you didn't teach Raiden that's
Oh. You didn't do that. Oh, you missed that. That was totally in the dialogue that you skipped over.
Oh man.
Is it hot in here?
It's gonna be.
Back to what Harry was trying to do before we went off the rails. Harry was trying to just lay out the bullet points of the story.
Yes.
And then we can explain the bullet points of the story, and then we can go into the actual details. That's all Harry was trying to do before everyone was like, this is an act, and this is an act, and this is an act.
Well, here's the thing: when you're going about the entire story and you're saying this is an act, this is where it picks up from here. If you're talking from like the storyline progression from as you're playing it,
There's 3 acts to everything.
okay, you feel that way. I'm going to disagree. That's the way this conversation
No, but
goes.
that's how like playwright goes, though.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's like how scripting goes.
Okay.
So like the first act is the freighter. The
Okay.
second act would be from the beginning to Raiden to the
Explain
president.
it to me more.
And then the
What's the
president,
third?
it's the president to the end of the game.
You think the president's the last end?
I think that's what.
That's
yeah.
what.
I think that's the catalyst for the finale.
That's the climax. Where's the climax?
I don't know.
It's a longer
Oh.
it's a longer piece of media.
Oh, but what's the climax?
The
'Cause if we're breaking
fight
it
with
down.
Solidus.
Oh, so that's not the ending. So
It's in the
climax-
third act.
Oh, okay. Continue, Harry.
I don't know where to go from there.
I don't know either. I don't understand the foreign
The
concept.
bullet points. Let's get back to the bullet
The
points.
bullet
So
points.
You get
Act
to the,
two,
you get to the
president.
president. He reveals his nugget or whatever. After the president, we have to get to Emma Emmerich. We have to escort her to
Safety?
to Hal,
Sh-
basically,
shaky
to
legs,
safety.
EE.
Shaky legs. EE. From there, we infiltrate Arsenal gear. We get naked, and then we fight.
Ralph. Big bullet point for Ralph.
Yeah. We get
Harry, you
naked,
first.
and then we move up to fight however many Metal Gear Rays, depending on your difficulty level.
Little.
Your difficulty level. Can't talk.
You really
tonight.
can't talk
I
tonight.
can't talk tonight.
It's
Apologies.
a rough one, man.
And what, the final showdown with Solidus? Those are probably too many bullet points.
Well, there's a couple things in the story that happen in between.
I think it's a lot of interaction with the Dead Cell crew for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, oh, here, I'm going to hop in, and oh, I'm going to stop you from doing your plan. And I think there was a lot of that. Like, I don't think each scene was very significant. It just happened quite a few times throughout the plot.
Like,
It's
similar to
to
the first
slow down the storyline a little bit.
Like, how many times did you have to fight Vamp? He got old. He's a
Twice?
He's very not creative when it comes
you
to
have
a
to fight him
character.
twice, right?
If you count the
Yeah.
one where you have to shoot him with the sniper when he's with EE.
Yeah.
Twice, yeah.
Well, no, I think that was the third encounter.
But you don't
Well,
fight
it's
him
the
in the
third
first one.
encounter. Yeah, the first
Okay.
one you don't actually fight him.
Cutscene.
I mean, story-wise, you can't skip over the poor EE.
So what I found this storyline to be is backstabbing after backstabbing after backstabbing. That
Literally.
they just kind of feed you a little bit at a time. That this person just fucked over this person. But they're all like working together, but then this person fucked over this person. And there's just a lot of that.
It's
throughout
a
the
giant
entire
network
story.
of fuckery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Metal Gear Solid 2. Fuckery.
The one that bugs me is when like Snake like uses Raiden to get into Arsenal gear. It just seems kind of stupid. It just seems like tonally like weird. Like this is just here to confuse the player. It's not here because that's what Snake would do. It didn't fit to me.
They
You
made
guys
it
feel different.
They made it fit into the narrative instead of like creating something else where, oh, Snake is just here because of this. It's like, oh, I used you. Now you're naked.
Get
Good
over
luck.
it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It could have been something for that transition, but no, you're just naked.
All right. Do we want to dig deeper into?
Can I give a general note?
Yeah.
So far, like, as somebody who doesn't like love the Metal Gear lore, not trying to offend anybody,
You're not offending us.
None taken.
it is
Overmouth.
information overload.
Oh, fuck that!
Oh, God,
So,
yes.
so I do want to say this. This is what I was referencing as the peak. There's so much going on in this game.
Too much, in my opinion.
Yes, there's a lot, and it leaves it open for the next 4 games that got made.
Which he had it in mind where it's like, all right, I got to have something to work off of, where it was almost a little too much like overkill on, we're not going to like end this storyline. We're just going to leave it open depending on what I feel like doing in the next 4 or 5 years.
I feel like Kojima realized that he had lightning in a bottle with the first Metal Gear Solid, and the follow-up, he really had the opportunity to say something, say what he wanted to say, and he did it, or he overdid it. I don't know how you want to put it, because there's definitely more going on here than there was in Metal Gear Solid. Like, I guess
God, yeah.
that fits like the right balance, maybe, mostly. But with this one, he was like, I'm just going to put it all out there and see what happens.
But see, the problem with that is, let's say towards the end of the game, it was like, I want to make a big impact, right? But then I'm going to outdo that impact. And then I'm going to outdo that impact. And it's like, each one is just, I don't mean to keep using this word,
You're
but
stuck in film school.
each one has less of an impact on your audience.
Yeah.
Because there's too many. Like, have that one big scene and then wrap up the game, but then that big scene will stick with that player.
It's like if you want to look at it in like let's say like a 10-hour spectrum of the entire game, he draws it out like so much.
No. I think this was a short game and too much information. I think they could have cut out half of the information in this game. Would have been a much better story.
He's going to hate
Yeah.
4.
No, I think 4 ties up in a bow.
Oh, okay.
Personally,
More so, they seem to kind of like try to cram it. I guess I may have spoken wrong. They try to cram it so much into a little space that it becomes like overwhelming, where it's, I don't mean like drawn out over like a time period, but like kind of drawn out in maybe like a fragment of like the game, where they kind of take like the last 30% of the game and here's all the information, but every single cutscene, we're going to give you like 20 minutes of dialogue over codec. We're going to give you another 20-minute cutscene, and at the very end, we're going to give you like another 30-minute cutscene. That's where I mean more drawn out with like the cutscenes towards the end rather than the beginning.
Okay.
I've had somebody explain to me, like, and I really, really appreciated how, well, not explain to me, I kind of like read this somewhere. And it's a good analogy for how Kojima did Metal Gear 2. So he took all these little things like, okay, government control, nuclear warfare, terrorism, what people's political views of terrorism are, all these things, and he jammed them down into a shotgun shell, loaded that shotgun shell, lined up his audience, and fired the shotgun shell into the audience. And you're getting hit with all these different things, but the things that resonate with one person are the things that stick with them.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like me specifically, there's a lot of that stuff. Even after beating it again today, a lot of that stuff drops off. But to me, it's like his predictions of where we're going to be with information sharing, content sharing, censorship, fake news, like that is all stuff that really resonated with me, and that's the bits through the story of the outer crust that I remember and have resonated with me.
You're going to find your
a
own
poignant point.
piece of the entire thing that you can latch onto and you can feel like a personal connection to, rather than the rest of the bullshit that he's, well, not bullshit, but rather than the rest of like the quote unquote messages that he's trying to project.
Yeah.
All right, so pretty much you're getting towards the end of the game. Dead Cell is pretty much gone. You shot Vamp multiple times, which is just a freak of nature. Shouldn't even been in the game. Fat Man, Mr. Bomber, he wants to be notorious. He's dead too. And then you have Fortune, Miss Electromagnetic Railgun Lady, daughter of Scott Dolph, the Marine Colonel who died 2 years ago on the tanker. And hey, we're gonna fight Solidus. Oh, surprise, you're gonna fight 200 Metal Gear Rays. Well, not 200, but a lot of Metal Gear Rays. And then final showdown with Solidus, which apparently you go through shooting and everything else and you know how to use a sword.
Okay. How do you just transport from the cells to New York City?
That is really jarring. I think people overlook that, or they just give it the benefit of the doubt. Like to me, it doesn't match up. Doesn't make sense.
Well, who knows how far it traveled, because Snake did say when they were planning on taking out the hostage, or like rescuing the hostages, not taking them out. It's a long swim to Manhattan.
Yeah.
So obviously they're within the area. So who knows how far Arsenal traveled within that time? But still, there's nothing that really links the two up of, hey, we're on Arsenal, or hey, we're just in New York, unless the whole thing was a simulation.
The whole sequence is probably on the
entire thing.
The cutting room floor, because of the reasons we stated earlier, that they couldn't show the ending.
You're on the Starship Enterprise within the holodeck.
Yeah, they cut the whole them crashing into New York.
Oh, okay. So that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
That was more of a development end.
I think that's why, like, globally, everyone gave that transition a pass, is because they did it out of, like, respect for a tragedy that just recently happened.
Okay, fair enough.
So you better give it a pass, too. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Come on, Harry. 9/11. God damn it.
God damn it, Harry.
Jesus.
Aren't you a patriot?
Is he? He looks like one.
One of the 12.
What's
Wait,
that tattoo on your arm? Lale Lule. What is that?
What? Is that
I
low?
like to sing. Sound of music is my jam.
Lale Lule Foo.
Some weird notes at the end.
So
There's
there's
an
the
F and an A.
I don't know. I think the end of the game leaves you with lots of questions.
For sure.
And open for somewhat of an interpretation, lead-ins to other games.
Rose is pregnant.
Yeah, she's carrying. She told
touching her-
you, so it must be true.
I mean,
touching her tummy.
the
False news.
big question is, like, who's alive, who's dead, who is a computer program? Like, I think those questions can rattle around in your head at the end of the game.
Raiden's real fake girlfriend, Rose.
Yeah. So they pick up the same way they left off with Metal Gear 1. What the fuck is happening?
Come to think of it, Rose pretty much, she glammed up nicely in Metal Gear 4. She doesn't look like the same character.
No.
she does not.
No, she does not. But we'll save that for next year.
Yeah, the
Or
ending
two.
is totally mostly open for your interpretation if you manage to watch all the cutscenes and stay with what was going on, which could be a struggle for some.
My biggest question with Rose is, when did the actual human Rose stop being a part of the codec scenes with Rose? Because
Yeah, I don't know.
She's like not like that's not the same person, because that's all revealed to be like towards the end you just start getting these weird messages from the Colonel and Rose, and they're just saying some ludicrous shit, and they're also just telling Raiden how terrible he was and how he's just pretty much a weapon to be used and to be discarded afterwards and things like that. I think that's like a main sticking point for his character, is like he pretty much gets broken down to nothing, and then he doesn't know what to believe, if Rose was real, if she was an agent or isn't an agent, and
Fractured.
that's like the biggest betrayal. And actually, something that's kind of interesting is there's a project in the 60s called MK Ultra, and they used to mentally break people and fragment their personalities so that they could be controlled like a sleeper soldier. And like this is kind of that being brought up again.
They'd like
in
give them LSD and see what they did and stuff, right?
Yeah, they would repeatedly abuse them as well.
There's a movie.
The Men Who Stare at Goats.
No, the
Manchurian Candidate.
Manchurian Candidate. I saw that in theater actually, but that kind of follows the same concept where they're subliminally brainwashed into becoming a sleeper agent until a certain activation.
Right.
Oh,
is
you mean
emitted.
Zoolander?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that Liv Schreiber and Denzel Washington, I think? And it's a remake, actually. Manchurian Candidate came out earlier.
So another question I had, which I'm sure is explained in the other games, so we don't have to get too far into it, but Solidus alludes to the point that he wanted to his whole master plan was to reveal the 12 Patriots, and then that what they alluded to here is that he already eliminated the 12, because they even went to this cutscene where it just started Xing them out and eliminating them off the
Already
screen.
dead.
But then Ocelot reveals, oh no, part of my plan was supporting the Patriots and to undermine your plan. And I'm starting to question, are they alive or are they dead at this point?
Well, and then at the end, Otacon tells you they've been dead for over 100 years.
True.
Yeah. So that's the thing. That's the real big reveal, is that they've been dead for 100 years. All of the names on that list, they've been dead. However, it gets explained in a different game.
That's fine.
What happens there. I mean, if you really want, I could do it in 2 seconds.
It's all good.
When I first played this game, I never questioned that, Solidus was a bad guy, and he was like the big bad guy. And when I played it this time, and he's talking about how he basically just wanted to liberate the country from the grip of the Patriots.
He's kind of a good guy.
Right, I'm kind of like, why are they... Well, wait a minute. What he wants really isn't that crazy or that bad. And then he's like, by the way, I killed your parents, which I guess is the real reason that... to complete the mission, but the mission fell off ages ago for Raiden.
That's out of place, though. Why would he instigate somebody he's trying to convince, hey, this is what my real intentions are?
Yeah.
It's almost like he's trying to convince Raiden to join his side, and then, oh, by the way, I killed your parents. Let's fight to the death.
It feels like it's just, it's the last straw to invoke this final battle to end the game.
And it doesn't make sense, though.
Well,
No,
at the same time, it follows the line for the storyline for the series itself. It's what happened to Raiden the entire time. Break them down, get them to nothing, and then see where he can rise up.
Yeah,
from.
but I don't think that was Solidus's motivation, break him down. I think that was somebody else's motivation. So I think that's a break in the general storyline. At least from my perspective, at this point in time, it doesn't make sense.
I got you, but they could have killed him halfway through the game, but it didn't happen.
Solidus or Raiden?
Raiden.
Oh.
Solidus could have had Raiden killed.
Oh, right.
Like when you see Ocelot sitting looking at the camera when you're going for aims, and then he's talking to Solidus, you could have killed him right then and there. Just shot dead. Blam. Done.
You must be Ames.
But that's not what happened. So obviously there was a bigger picture that Solidus had for Raiden for the long-term type of thing.
But he didn't remember who he was at that point. I thought later is when he learns, he remembers that he's Jack the Ripper or whatever from the 80s.
Yeah,
but that's kind of what I was getting to. You're saying that he's building Raiden up to be a bigger thing, but why go at him at the end of the game? Just to...
The ultimate test.
I don't know. I think that's a convenient way to...
I mean, I can explain. It gets explained in other games, kind of the motivations there. But, essentially, he's kind of... If Raiden can beat him, but has the same ideals as Solidus wins.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's passing on his legacy because he's a gene-created thing he can't pass on
Find
through...
something to fight for and...
Okay,
pass it
fair
on.
enough.
Yeah. So there's three things in common with Liquid, Solid, and Solidus, and that is that at any given point, they're all labeled terrorists. Liquid is actually probably a terrorist, like by the definition of the word. Snake, as you find out here, is labeled a terrorist because he's, going and in a militaristic way taking out Metal Gears, which are government property, so of course they're going to say that he's a terrorist. Raiden even calls him a terrorist in the Codec at one point. And then there's Solidus, who is actually a rebel, not really an actual, he's rebelling against the Illuminati. Like, the Patriots are the Illuminati in this.
Kind of.
Basically,
seems like
yeah.
that's what they're alluding to.
Yep.
So he's rebelling against them, so they label him a terrorist. I actually don't think Solidus is in the wrong at the end of the game, and I think he's passing on his ideology to Raiden to carry on, and that kind of gets confirmed a little bit based on some later things that happen with Raiden.
Well, it does tie into because they did spend an absorbent amount of time.
Exorbitant?
They spent a lot of time talking about how they can't have children.
Right.
They cannot reproduce. But then he talked about, it's important for me to have a legacy to pass on. So maybe that's his symbolism, passing it to Raiden.
He even calls him his son.
Well,
because he raised him.
it's the same relationship that the three brothers have with Big Boss.
Yep.
Les enfants terribles. That's it. It's like the terrible infants, because that's what they're there for. Those three are the spawn of Big Boss, and then Raiden, even though he's not directly related to Big Boss in the game, that's the way he's raised to an extent. So that's what's expected. It's like, take this ideal. Is he going to latch onto it even a little bit? If yes, then mission completed. That's pretty much what they're looking to do, just to pass on the ideals and the feeling of, hey, you know what, I'm repressed from something, so I need to rise above that and topple it, whatever it may be.
We didn't.
We left so much. out.
I'm gonna say this as a disclaimer. We did not cover half of what is actually going on with the backdrop of this game, and there's tons of stuff that we missed. I'm just going to say this. If any of the different things that we have kind of talked about here in story has piqued your interest, play the game and just experience that information overload at the end.
Even just sitting here talking about it'd be like a 5-6 hour podcast. We don't have that kind of time.
Right.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Otacon fucked his stepmom.
He did. He did.
Dirty bastard.
All right. Well, let's skate our way into some gameplay.
Gameplay.
I see what you did there.
What? Are you calling me fat?
You're not laughing. You're not growing. Yeah.
No, I
So
got
gameplay?
nothing.
Yes.
I think the controls are difficult. They don't feel very fluid.
They're
They
different.
are, yeah.
They're. I want to say they're unique for a third-person game.
Yeah.
It took me a while to adapt and get back into the flow with it, and even some mechanics I didn't use, like leaning from walls. I would just go first person and inch my way to dart or shoot whoever I was going for. There were just some mechanics of the gameplay I preferred not to use, but yeah, holding R1 for first person and then gently pushing square to bring your gun out, and if you don't want to shoot, you got to gently release it. Like the way that the controls are pressure sensitive, just kind of bugged me. It's a product of its time. It feels very unique, and it takes it a little bit to get used to.
I felt like I did not shoot as much as I expected to because I didn't fully push down square. Like, it was just kind of lining it up, and then I let it go. I'm like, oh, shit, that's not it.
I had the
All right.
opposite problem.
Let's
I wanted
go.
to let off, and I was shooting all the time. I wanted to just be like, okay, I lined up my shot, and they kept walking. I missed it. I just want to slowly... Damn it.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, you also had to compensate for distance because there was delay.
Yep.
Like, if one of the ciphers was going along in the air, you couldn't just shoot right at it because your bullet is going to whiz by it. If it's a little further out in the distance, you actually had to compensate for, all right, it's moving in this direction. I'm going to be a little ahead of it. And then here it comes. I'll let it go. And then I hit it.
Yeah, it goes back to the realism.
Yeah, which I don't think at the time a lot of games had that going for it.
Full disclaimer.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
I cheesed the fuck out of this game.
Oh, yeah?
I played on a previous playthrough.
What?
Oh, so did you have the
I had
unlimited ammo?
Infinite ammo bandana,
God.
and
Did
I
you have the
had
stealth?
these stealth.
Oh God!
Oh,
damn
fuck
it.
off. You
Get
didn't
the
even
fuck
play
out.
the game.
Walk
Yeah,
out right
like,
now.
what the fuck?
Get out of
You
here.
game sharked
Go.
it.
It was fun.
Yeah, you had a good
Yeah,
time.
it is fun that way.
Really.
But get the fuck out.
Jesus.
So
Cheez-Its.
I played on European Extreme. Only died once. It's a lie.
I don't believe it.
Getting back to the controls, though, the first-person aim was a little rough.
Was
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
While you're invisible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. While you're trying to shoot out radios. How many dog tags did you get, Harry? While you were invisible with infinite ammo.
I didn't,
Ammo.
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 I didn't pick up
I
any
stand by
dog
what I said.
tags.
Oh, did you know you could do that?
Really?
I had them all from the previous playthrough.
Oh.
It's new to this game. So you get near a guard and you draw your gun, but you don't fire, and you say freeze.
He didn't do that. It was invisible.
And you can basically hold them up. If you then walk around them and point either their gun or their...
No, I did that a lot. I did
Oh.
the freeze thing. I didn't know you could grab dog tags, though.
You can basically coax them into giving them up, and they will.
yeah, you see them shining on their chest. There's like a little glint.
Oh, I always did the freeze and either grab them or just pop them in the back of the head, typically.
Yep.
With your dart gun.
Can't go wrong with that.
I would always just like grab them, choke them out, kill them.
Actually, speaking of the controls with that, I had a hard time getting that guy on the eye scanner.
Me
with
too.
the chokehold thing. Like,
Really?
yeah.
All you had to do was flip him around to the other side.
It didn't line up very well, or by the time I get him there, and then he's collapsed on the floor, and then he gets up, and then I got to grab him again, and he's calling for help. and
yeah.
It was just like a vicious cycle I was
So
going through.
you were just really bad at it.
I struggled with that the second time. The first time I did it like one shot, and then the second time I had to go back in because I forgot to grab the directional mic.
Oh,
The first time.
Oh no!
So I had to like
I did the same thing.
yeah, I had to like go back out and then like grab the dude, and then I went to do it, and he like flopped to the ground. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch! All right, nope.
No.
All right, no, don't do that. Don't kill him.
Well, I
Slam his head into the.
I just remembered when I did it, my uniform disappeared.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, does that because I
did
did
you bump into him?
I
Yeah.
must have, and then I did the cutscene where I'm
Oh.
holding the AK-47 or AK-94 or whatever, and I'm walking down the stairs, acting like a guard, but it's just Raiden in his normal sneaking
Oh.
suit, and the first thing I did was put the uniform back on, so I wasn't discovered.
See, first mistake I made with that is to put everyone to sleep. Doesn't work out that way. So I had to wait for the one to come
Oh,
up and then
okay.
put him to sleep and then knock. So the other one came out, put him to sleep, and then chokehold and drag him all the way down. So it's like, just put your eyes in this shit.
Side note, it's not a spoiler, but it made me miss that in Metal Gear Solid 4, where if you knock somebody out and they have the stars swirling, you
Zs?
can actually pat them and they'll drop off.
Oh, you can wake
you
them
can
up.
wake them up after
Yeah.
you've darted them if you needed to. And I don't
Not the
think you can do
Z's,
that.
but it's if they're unconscious, you can, but not if they're asleep.
Oh, is that right? Even in Metal Gear Solid 4?
Well,
Yeah, where it's like the between Z's and like the little stars.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
All right.
You're right.
speaking of controls, though, swimming controls were a little difficult.
Yes.
Inverted.
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually when you do swimming in a game, you think, was it hit up and go down? But
Mhm.
this was hit up
Yeah.
and you go up, and it was like, you
You're
know how many mines I swam into?
I think I did 2 or 3.
I think I cleared it all.
really
Minesweeper with his body.
Yeah.
See, that's where I feel like you guys would do better, because usually when it's like comes to left joystick control, like everybody is normal, and I go inverted, so it was a little harder for me to go inverted.
I didn't know there was an
Did,
option
like,
for inverted.
Da-
What's that? Don't stab me with your pen. No. Ah!
I liked playing with a katana.
I didn't.
Really?
Really?
I like
Using the
katana.
control stick to attack,
I feel like if you got a little more gameplay with it, you might enjoy it.
I didn't have trouble with Solidus or the second to last area with the guards. I actually had trouble with the
With
first
the
area.
Tengu guys or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snake kept dying on me, so I actually started to dart.
Really?
I started to dart Snake, so he would just drop, and then I would take care of the guards, and then we got to
You
the,
were
the
knocking
hallway.
out Snake?
I was knocking out Snake. The hallway, he kept dying. He kept
What
getting
a
shot up. So
Dick.
that's what I mean, it worked out fine. It was fine. He didn't kill
Hey,
me or anything.
whatever works for you.
Did anybody have the razor for Snake, by the way, so that he shaves for the final act?
No.
No.
Apparently, in the in the pool that I don't know if it's in the pool or not, but the first area where you emerge as Raiden, there's an electric razor in there, and if you have it, Snake appears clean shaven for the final act.
Oh no, he had a chin strap when I saw
me
him,
too.
Yeah. Although through the first playthrough, he did eventually have that. It's like I pretty much got to 100% of the game, but I couldn't find that memory card, so I couldn't go through with the infinite.
Yeah, Harry was playing with
or the
sunglasses
stealth
and
camo.
I
everything.
beat the game before. I was just having a
Yeah.
fun playthrough.
No, I got
Sure.
I got it.
Yes,
It's
sir.
It's great. Yeah. I'm glad you had fun. Let's talk about the Ray battle, if we can.
The multiple Ray battle?
The multiple Ray
That
battle.
was very uneventful. It was just the same thing over and over.
Yeah, I think it's super anticlimactic. I think it's easily one of the worst boss fights in any of the games.
I think it was one
Okay.
of the easier ones.
Yeah, it's super easy.
You know, when I think of good bosses, I actually think of
Oh yeah, there's
I think of 3.
3 has some of the best.
I remembered when I first played this, I really struggled with the Ray battles. Like I thought I was gonna have to kill like 20 of them because that's what I remembered. I looked it up online real quick based on the difficulty. If you're on easy, it's only 3. If you're on normal, it's 7. And from there, it goes to 10, 15, and the hardest is 20, I think.
It goes up from there
Yeah.
a lot.
I struggled a little bit with it until I got into a rhythm, and then, it was kind of anticlimactic.
Which kind of pissed me off because at the very end, when they show the cutscene with Solidus trying to take down the Metal Gear Rays, and he's doing it with a P90.
Oh, yeah,
and
that
just drops them after I've been shooting Stinger missiles at him for the past 10 minutes. Fuck you.
Yeah, that's
a little dickish.
Well, it just wasn't very consistent.
No, not at all. I mean, if I'm literally standing here shooting missiles for 10 minutes and it's like, oh, I hit one, it goes off to the side, shoot in the face, cool. All right, I get the idea of it, but then to have Solidus with all his tentacle missiles and everything else, but he's just shooting a P90 and takes him down, it doesn't add up for me.
I want to say that gameplay-wise, because you can now shoot in first person, the game is not easier than Metal Gear Solid, but it's easier to take out a guard, if that makes sense. It seems easier to point and shoot with the M9. Having said that, though, they compensated, and that if you get spotted, fucking riot gear just arrives. You might as well just let yourself die and restart, because by the time you get away, you've lost so much blood. It's bleeding all over the place. You're leaving a trail. I really felt that you had to be stealthy. That combat really wasn't much of an option. I mean, yeah, you can dupe them, but they really come in full force, and it really stands out to me that in this game it's like that. Did you guys experience anything like that?
I felt the best way to deal with that situation is to just zone and then rezone.
Oh, you could just leave the door and go through. Yeah, you're right.
And then it resets everything.
Well, so it
breaks the
sets
game
it
a
down
little bit.
to, it takes you out of the red zone. It only puts you down one state.
Okay.
So you can't
I
just
felt it
zone and go back to normal.
It just felt more manageable, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. I used that as well. That's you almost need to at points. But I was one of those people that I wouldn't just stand there and die. I'd actually try to hide.
Yeah.
I had some very tense moments, especially with the finding the bombs, where and you have the timer,
400 seconds or whatever.
yeah,
Nothing like pressure.
and I was like, all right, I'm almost there. Whoop, da, 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 and just all these fucking troops are out of nowhere. I'm like, God damn it! I'm hiding in a closet, and I hear them come into the room, and they're walking around, or I'm standing behind a bunch of boxes and flat against the wall, and you just see the guy with the flashlight lean in and sees me, and I'm like, son of a bitch,
damn it.
run out, throw a fucking stun grenade. And just What I did like, though, is you can cartwheel and knock over people.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's a super strong tactic to use, when you're running and stuff like that.
It's like an extra melee attack.
Oh, yeah.
It's great, and if you don't utilize it, flip, Mr. Laffy Pants.
No, I did it when I was naked a lot.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. That's the
cartwheels?
only way you
Of
can
course.
do it. There's nothing else punch, kick. Okay. Oh, there's someone else. I'm just going to cartwheel and kind of somersault into this bitch right now.
Yeah,
And if you
balls in
answer-
the face.
To
Yes.
answer the codec while you're midair and it zooms in. Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful.
Another thing
Fantasticals.
that's really funny, where Colonel's telling him like, "Oh yeah, don't try to do some of your maneuvers. Like, you can't hang while you're naked, and you can't grab somebody from behind and try to choke them out." And Raiden's like, "Why?" And he's like, Rose pops in and is like, "Come on,
'Cause you're dick.
I'm not going to call you
Pretty
out
much it.
on saying Raiden.
whatever."
Lord Raiden. Thunderbolts.
Yes,
I
I think it's Raiden or Raiden.
Yeah,
pick your poison.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
And pronounce them both the same. To me, it's Raiden.
Ryzen.
I will say, at least for gameplay, it was annoying the amount of times that Colonel said, "Oh, this is how you do this," or "This is how you do that."
That's every game.
I've done this. So, well, it's not like if it was in the very beginning, I understand, but we're talking like almost towards the end of the game where
But
he
you're
just comes
teaching
up.
right.
It was
Someone's got to do it.
If there's going to be a troll in the room, it's going to be me.
That's appropriate, though. You've been sharing the experience tonight.
It would be cool if at the beginning of the game you could just say that you're an experienced player or not.
Oh, yeah.
I really wish you could and like cut down the hour of tutorial that they do explain to you in the codex. You're like, great. And he's like, here's how to swim. I was like, I know how to swim.
Yeah, really.
Thanks. Fantastic.
Well, I guess you don't have to answer his codec, but then you're always worried you'll miss something important.
Yes. Yeah.
I wanted to say, and you guys tell me if you felt this way, but when I played this game originally, I felt like it was grand. I felt like the game was big, or the scope of the gameplay was this larger area.
Playing it this time.
Do you think that's what it is? I've just played a lot of games since like 2008, 2009, because now I played it, I was like, wow, this is like claustrophobic. Like I just remember there being more space. The whole game is tight and small areas, small rooms.
I almost got the same feeling, but then you have to keep in mind when this actually came out and what else was available at the time.
No, I know.
I mean, but that kind of like feeds into your point. It's like playing now, like even for myself, it did feel like, all right, it's very straightforward. It's like I don't really have, even though I can move around and kind of do my own thing, I really can't. There's nothing for me to really explore, especially coming off of like some of the past few games that we played. But you have to take it for, at least for myself, I take it for face value for being PlayStation 2 and 2001. You know, we're talking like 17 years ago. It was kind of like pushing things towards what we know now.
Okay. I'm not going to play devil's advocate or anything. I think the setting is supposed to be confined like that.
Yeah.
Like the big shell is not downtown Manhattan, obviously. It's a series of smaller contained areas. I get that.
If I could make 2 points off of that.
Yeah, go ahead. Make 2 points off of it.
The first one is... It feels very similar to Metal Gear Solid 1. They utilize the same environment like they did in the first game, where you backtrack to do certain objectives. So they're reusing the environment instead of this objective, new area, this objective, new area. They like to reuse the environments. That's at least what I picked up so far in the franchise. The other point I was going to make, though, your thought on how small the area was, I did think that back when I played this for the first time on PS2, that it was a small environment. And I remembered that going into this playthrough. I was like, oh, the whole thing takes place in such a small area. And that was the first thing I thought of when I was diving back into this game. So it stayed with me all these years between playthroughs.
Right, so I'm delusional. I get what you're saying.
Damn.
It's very
kind of agreeing with you.
Yeah, it's a very narrow game. There's not a lot of like giant open spaces for you to
what I'm saying
explore.
is I remember it feeling bigger than it is.
Well, you could think about that with the first game. Granted,
Seems more grand.
You still seem to be confined to the shell, but you're also confined to the base in Alaska. I mean, because it's pretty much it's they even say it's basically an entire simulation of Shadow Moses. This is almost a repeat of the first game, but different setting. You find yourself in the exact same situations. Deep Throat contacts you over codec, and you have to crawl over and pick up the claymores. You have to watch out for the thermal sensors, which are Semtex in this point, and you actually get to take them out by this,
Otacon cries
Further.
over a woman.
Yeah, and he and his
planned it.
sister both pee themselves when you're knocking on the walls. Like, everything is pretty... When you look at it, like, at a certain angle, it's symmetrical to the first game. It's just a completely different setting, but still the same. Which, personally, I kind of didn't mind, because it's a lot of throwback, but at the same time, if you're going to have this much of a budget for a brand new game to make a sequel to the first one, which did very well, do something different instead of the same thing, but different circumstances.
Well, I can never decide if I think it's genius that this game is supposed to be a recreation of Shadow Moses or if it's lazy.
It's a fine line.
I go back and forth.
It's like, all right, well, these ideas were done already, so you're doing it again. Or, all right, these ideas were done before, but we're reimagining them and then just throwing 20 tons of story on top of it.
And 30 Metal Gear Rays at it.
I'm not going to lie, actually, that right there, that may have skewed my judgment for the score a little bit. And I loved this game for a while, but just that.
I don't see it as like carbon copy, so
No,
I'm fine
it's
with
not.
It.
Yeah.
Not carbon copy, but you are doing a lot of the same stuff.
I'm not saying it's lazy. I just...
Yeah. The boss battles are different. None of those are really the same. Like, you're not like counter sniping Sniper Wolf. You're not.
These really aren't as memorable, are they?
No. To me, no.
I think Fat Man's memorable.
He is. He's the standout. He's the standout of the Dead Cell anyway.
And Solidus.
Okay, sure.
I think the Solidus fight is.
I didn't struggle with him this time.
I didn't struggle with him this time either.
I thought it was going to be tough, and it wasn't.
I also, the first time that I played the game, I didn't really play with the katana at all, like much at all. And then, like, this time, I was like, oh yeah, katana time.
Well, I mean, you get it towards the end. There's not a whole lot you can really do. It really comes into play once you do like the second playthrough, and if you can get it, then that's where it's like, oh, I can have fun with this.
I mean, if you've got infinite ammo and camouflage,
stealth,
you don't have to worry about it, so,
everything.
You know.
Did you play through with the katana?
How'd you like
Only
the
the
katana,
katana.
Harry?
At the end, yeah.
Yeah, at the end? Well, that's good.
I don't really like that that's thrown at you at the end of the game, though. I don't like that it's like, oh, you've got 45 minutes of the game left. Here's a katana. Learn how to use it.
Here's an entire new gameplay style of everything you've just done for the past 4.5 to 7 hours.
I've said it before. Don't give me a new thing in the third act of the story.
I feel like I've heard that before.
At least twice.
Hey, Ralph, you want to go rent a biplane?
So I had two other gameplay points that I wanted to make before I'm done with my points.
Good. Just don't turn your head when you're talking.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That was poor.
That was poor?
The first one, how dope was the Snake and Otacon secret handshake?
It was incredible.
Bros for life.
I just love how it like slowed down, like.
And he keeps the parrot on his arm. I was like, wait, where's the parrot? Did you just like squish it? Nope.
No, he's there.
The other thing I wanted to mention.
I thought someone. Sorry, real quick. I thought someone was about to get stabbed or shot in that scene where I was like, "No, it can't be Hal."
Yeah. Something awesome is about to happen. Something has to go wrong.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention was breaking the fourth barrier. Fourth wall, rather.
Towards the end of the game?
Where the fish and mailed, where it kind of zooms out.
Classic.
Or how the colonel's like, oh, I think you've been playing this game enough. Like just kind of...
Isn't it time to save?
But I know they
Honestly,
did that a
though-
little bit in the last game, too, where you had to change ports with the controller and jabs like that. So they do... I think they try to put that element back in the game that's outside of the game, in a way.
Yeah, a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always like that kind of stuff, personally. I like when something can break the fourth wall and not have it be, like, completely shattering. Like, I know that, like, the game is self-aware.
Even when Snake like is the infinite ammo bit with the bandana.
Yeah, like that shit. Like, that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
like, how do
yeah.
you do
Yeah,
that?
he's
It's like,
He's like,
infinite ammo.
yeah, he's
Points
like,
to his forehead.
do you have enough ammo? And he's like, yeah, infinite ammo.
Yeah, no, I remember that. That was a good scene.
It's just like one of those like what the fuck moments. Like, wait, does Snake actually have infinite ammo, or is it a joke?
How meta.
Yeah, is he aware?
Does he know he's a video game character?
Yeah, what? But yeah, like little things like that, I really enjoy. I felt one other thing I gotta say, it's not really gameplay. It probably should have been in story, but I'm saying it now. Damn it!
Hit us.
I felt really bad for Hal, like super bad for Hal, after Emma died.
You know, the emotion there, it's hammed up, but I still feel like it works. You do feel bad for Hal.
I felt bad for Emma. I mean, really.
You know, I kind of, this time playing, I kind of thought, maybe Emma and Hal's positions should have been reversed. Like, I feel like there would have been a lot more emotional weight if Otacon had died rather than Emma. And she could, like, take his place in the story. Now, hear me out, because we don't know Emma until this game.
Yeah.
We're with her for 45 minutes, and then she's dead. So you feel bad for Hal because you have the connection with him, but for the player, I guess, you would have had a more emotional response if Otacon had been the one to die or sacrifice trying to stop and then you'd have the love triangle that would continue.
Well, that's why I feel like they try to build her up a little bit and her story, like when you go in and you actually find her like hiding in the storage closet,
Peeing
and then you
herself.
take her out. Yes,
Just like Hal.
just like her brother,
Even though they're
her
not
stepbrother.
blood related.
No, but they have the same tendencies because they spend a lot of time together
They
as
played
kids.
house.
And then not only that,
No one can see you shiftily like
Shifting
moving
my
your
eyes.
eyes around.
They played house.
where she started talking about it like when they were swimming, and then she came out and it's like, oh, did you do okay? And it's like, yeah, I just listened to your heartbeat.
They humanize you. They make you feel for. I know.
They started making connection between her and Raiden a little bit. And then even when they're just kind of like sitting down, and then they were talking, and she was saying, he said, "You're not just cute but smart." She's like, "I'm more than cute." Like there's
Whoa.
flirty stuff going on where it's
What
like,
does she mean by
okay.
that?
I think they made the right choice with EE dying.
I thought it was heartbreaking that the parrot, said, "Hal, I miss you." Like that.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
because we know that
Again, this is
they
more
just
story
repeat-
though. Like,
Yeah, it is.
I just wanted to get, like real quick.
We
just
needed
get
to
that-
address
get that
it.
out there. Yeah.
All right, before we keep diving back into the story, because it's everything in the game, let's get into the graphics.
Graphics.
I think the graphics look fantastic. I thought they did back then. I think they look great in the HD remaster. I think they look good on the PS2 and the Xbox. And
Oh, did you play the HD remaster?
I did. I played your copy of it.
Aha! Yes, that's right.
Oh, you did.
You
HD
knew I
remaster?
had it.
I'd
It's
like
not like
that
I
back,
fucking
please.
stole it out of your house.
I'd like that back, please. I know. I loaned it to you.
Harry,
No,
did
no,
you
stop.
do
Be fine.
No.
No, I did PS2.
Clark
You
is
did?
pushing,
Oh, nice.
pushing the eject button on his PlayStation.
Oh, yes.
for
Yeah,
you right
because
now.
he cannot waste time.
Oh, dude.
Where's the case? Nope. Doesn't
Graphically,
have it yet.
Yeah, we don't have to announce it. You could have just been talking. I was doing this silently.
Yet, no. Gotta let them know.
graphically, I want to point out I did not care for the animation of going up and down stairs.
felt slow?
No, it felt ridiculous.
It felt like Resident Evil.
The legs just it didn't look natural at all.
Natural.
It didn't. It just looked cartoonish.
You mean you don't run up the stairs in supersonic fashion at all?
Okay, so is that the only problem that you have with with the
I
graphics?
just want to point it out.
That's impressive.
The animation of that just kind of bugged me a little bit.
You got tired of it.
Fair enough.
It just looked wonky.
Okay.
I thought actually I liked the setting of the game. I think the setting was kind of cool.
There's some really cool set pieces that they do that just kind of like really pinpoint the art style of the game.
Graphically, I really... Yeah, okay, let me do the whole thing. So, I feel like this game should be played this way, okay? You should...
Okay, please tell me
Yeah,
how
no,
I should
I'm gonna
play.
tell you. Hear me out, guys. So you should play the tanker segment at night, like after the sun has set, and then you should stop playing, and then the next morning you should start the plant segment, because the entire segment of the plant takes place over one day. It starts at dawn, and it transitions into night as you play it. I really felt like when the sun is setting and you're escorting Emma and you're protecting her. I really liked the sunset. I liked the way that
So
that
did
worked.
she.
Yeah.
The last one she ever
Oh,
saw.
they address it. That's right. They do address it in the game. Nice.
The way you should play it, though, Ralph.
Here we go. Tell
Play
me.
the tanker one evening. Wait 2 years. And then one morning.
Get in your time machine and go back to 2007 and play it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's like we were talking about Breath of the Wild. You should have, or not Breath of the Wild, I'm sorry, Ocarina of Time. You should have Odin play as Child Link and then take the game from him, and in 7 years let him finish the game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to
It's
torture my kid
terrible.
like that.
No, that's fine. And while we're on graphics and talking about the transition of Emma, let me know about wait for it.
I feel like you
Transition.
said Emma 5 times in the last 10 minutes.
What's
Steve.
wrong with
Emma.
EE? What's wrong with EE?
Let me know when you see that. Okay, EE when
See what?
you're getting
You're got
the
her?
audio file because I'm being a dick and saying you won't
Oh,
see the
gotcha,
audio file.
okay.
Yeah. So when you actually take her through the water and she goes swimming,
The
she
water.
still comes out and has the lacquer chopsticks and everything's all nice and good when it comes to her hair.
Oh, I didn't
Does that bother you?
A little bit.
Okay.
I think I've been spoiled with the new generation games of, it's a little more realistic. And
Oh, you're saying they should have been like wet and dripping? And
a little bit, yeah. I mean, here's someone who's like literally soaked completely, diving through for minutes on minutes of time, and comes out and it's still all bobby and such.
To be honest, that was hard to see on the PS2 version. I don't know, maybe if you guys saw that on
Her
the-
hair?
Yeah, like they had this blur effect on the PS2
I
version.
think that's
Oh,
your.
in
You
the
need
water,
a new TV.
You're saying.
In
You're
the
saying
water?
in the
No,
water.
I'm not saying in the water. When she comes out of the water, so when you take her out of the first room where you meet her, you go underwater.
I
she
know what you're
comes
saying.
back
With the
out.
pockets of
It's
air.
got.
Are you
it's
gonna
got-
explain the whole fucking scene?
Yeah, you know what? I fucking will. If he doesn't understand it,
No, I get the pockets of
eat
air.
a dick, bitch. Go ahead.
Starting
Nope.
season 3 off right, boys.
I'm gonna cross that one off my list. Go ahead. There we go.
Tell me about Emma.
I don't. What I think I was getting to though is like the PS2 version. I don't think it was very detailed with certain things like that. Like it just like I knew there was a character there, but I don't think they went in depth on that.
I
level.
saw every wrinkle
No.
on Ocelot's forehead.
There were a
The
few.
HD version.
See, I don't think there was
Some
like.
liver spots.
Yeah.
I don't think you could tell if he had wrinkles or not on the PS2 version.
He had wrinkles.
it's a little muddy.
Everything was smoother, I think, on the.
Do we get 60 frames? I'm not sure if we. Sometimes it seemed like we did.
I don't think the PS3 was capable of 60 frames.
Oh, it was probably 30. I want to say that in the HD version, you could tell the sort of high poly characters and the low poly characters, like all the Marines in the tanker portion when they're all like lined up and everything. And quick aside, it seems weird that they would go to a speech fully armed, but they're all there, and when they focus on them with the camera, you can see that like they don't have half the pixels of Snake or Raiden or any of the main cast.
No, they got cheap with it.
I like the design of like the menus and actually I hate the nodes. I think they're stupid. I think we should just have the radar and not have to
Yep.
go to a node.
They're a real pain in the dick.
Oh wait, you mean where you have to like download the
yeah, and
information?
electrocute yourself on a computer. Yeah,
Yeah, and then to bring up an option menu.
I like
just
that.
you like that?
I like having to seek out each like mini map of each.
Out of the
section.
entire game, that's what you like?
I thought it was a cool little like
Extra
a
challenge.
collectible almost, if you think about
Oh,
it.
see, that was so
Collectathon.
annoying. to me.
Collectathon.
I hated it. I was like, just
Oh,
give me my
man.
fucking radar. Like,
Yeah.
I think we just have very opposite opinions.
We-
Snake didn't have to
apparently
do that
we
in the
do.
last game. He didn't have to do that in the last game. You've never had to do that in any other game.
I don't know. I liked it.
Okay, you're allowed to
Boom.
like it. You're allowed to like it.
So,
wait till you start collecting frogs.
Oh.
yeah.
I
he's-
got that done. Oh wait, are we talking about?
Duck Dynasty? No.
I said I got all the frogs.
Harry, that's not the way it works.
Harry, I know that
Wow.
game hurt you, but it's time to let go.
Jean-Luc,
Not everything
Clark,
is about
he
Duck
cannot.
Dynasty.
Jean-Luc,
Jean-Luc.
you got those frog legs
Go
for me,
get them
Jean-Luc?
frog.
Jean-Luc.
Shoot the squirrel on the tree, John. Nope.
All right, you're gonna become a real. What are they called again?
I have no fucking
What's
clue.
their family name?
I don't know,
Real
douche.
Robertson. You're gonna get a real Robertson
You're
now.
gonna be a
John
real
Luke.
douche by
So
the
we
end
have
of this.
final thoughts.
Oh God.
Yeah,
No.
let's move on to
No, graphically,
sound.
I think the characters are designed well. I wanted to say again that I really like the interface for your items and for your weapons, and I like well, that's the sound. I like the way everything looks, and it's clean except for where it needs to be dirty.
For like your item menu where you have to search through it.
Yeah. I like the design. I mean, I'm gonna say that for the franchise, but I like the visual design.
Can't argue. Anything else, boys?
Actually, I think Arsenal Gear is really stupid looking.
I'd agree.
Like Metal Gear Ray, I don't even like that much, but Arsenal Gear is just like it's just this big metal thing. I don't even know why they call it a Metal Gear. It doesn't do anything but move.
No,
on
it's
the
a
water.
ship.
Yeah.
I wanted to see more of it. I'm wondering if there's more in that deleted cutscene that
Probably.
results in it crashing.
Maybe one day we'll see it.
Who knows?
It's on Kojima's home server.
Maybe. That'd be cool.
Somewhere. All right, let's move on. We're getting into music/sound.
Music.
I think the sound design in this is great. Like I think all of the sound effects, the guns sound real. The explosions are a little off at times, but I think the voice acting's incredible.
Yes.
And what's really cool is Phil Lamar voices
As
Vamp.
Vamp. Yeah.
It's so great.
The pasty Romanian vampire-looking dude is voiced by Phil Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
He can do it.
Yeah, and he did do it.
I think the first time he comes in, he's like, Queen. And it's like, hey, it's Phil Lamar.
But yeah, I honestly, I don't have a lot to say. I kind of said my interesting tidbit about music in the beginning. I really honestly, I think they knocked it out of the park with the music. It sounds very techno and militaristic in a little way, and
Descriptive.
I think that works.
I liked Fortune's theme
Me too.
with the saxophone.
Me too. I'm a big fan of it.
The other music didn't really jump out at me, but that track I thought was really good.
I will say for the Metal Gear series, like I played through 4, I haven't gotten into the 5 series, unfortunately. This is one of my favorite, I won't say soundtracks, but main theme. Just between, it has a lot of feeling, and I don't know, I feel like a lot of like passion behind it a little bit. This is one that just the main theme is the one that stuck out to me. There's really not a whole lot of music. The voice acting, like 85% maybe. There were some things that were just, some of it did seem kind of like phoned in a bit.
Okay. Ralph's Music Minute. So
Ralph's Music Minute. Ba-da-da.
Harry Gregson Williams has done scores for films like we talked about earlier. Enemy of the State, Chicken Run, Spy Kids, Shrek, Man
What?
on Fire, Team America, World Police, and The Martian.
Fuck yeah.
And he's also done the score for Metal Gear 3, 4, and Ground Zeroes. And I wanted to say that, going off your point, Steve, this is the first game that introduces the Metal Gear Solid theme as we know it. Like the dun 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 dun.
As we go.
Sorry, guys. That was written by him, introduced here, and used basically throughout the rest of the franchise. I want to say that this soundtrack is excellent, and it is very good fitting for the game. The strut music, like when you first come in, like the way it's kind of like jazzy with techno, whatever, electronic themes underneath. Like you said, Harry, Fortune's theme I really like. I bought the soundtrack, and Fortune's theme was the thing that I listened to the most. Really dig it. Voice acting, David Hayter is always amazing.
Damn right.
I mean, he could do anything, and I would pay money to see it. Quentin Flynn is the guy that does Raiden, and I think that his performance of the character gets better with time, but not in this game. I think he basically, he at the beginning of the game, where he's at is where he's at the end, and I don't care for his performance that much. There are some moments that are seriously cheesy, and unfortunately, I just can't forgive the character or the performance enough to give him a pass.
So are you talking for the future games where it kind of he comes in?
They changed the characterization of Raiden, and
Yeah.
he adapts, and I think his adaptation is better than what we get here. I mean,
I'd agree
more,
with that.
I want to say he's more human here, which isn't bad, but when he gets to the emotional moments with Rose, it's better, but overall, I don't love the voice acting for Raiden. Everybody else is pretty spot on and great.
Agreed. Totally. All right. With that, let's go into final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
All right, Mr. Ralph, let me know about final thoughts.
I want to repeat what I said earlier about how I feel like this game is sort of Kojima peaking. We did discuss how maybe he overdid it with this one. I think he really had lightning in a bottle and knew that he could do whatever he wanted, or he got a blank check for this game and he went a little overboard. And either he wore himself out, or he lost his passion, or he dialed it back in for the rest of the series. I just wanted to reiterate and get that out there. Having said that, I think that this game is a lot of fun. I enjoy playing it, though I've only played it twice since it came out. It's not something that I normally go back to. It's deep, it gets you thinking. What's weird is, even though I don't care for the Raiden switch, I still think that this game is excellent. And it's really interesting that I can not enjoy that, but enjoy the overall package that we got.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating to me how polarizing this game was, despite the fact, I mean, it had 7 million copies sold. It just sold like crazy, but people didn't completely love it. Like, it doesn't have unanimous praise. I don't know. It's a real Kojima game, I guess is the way I want to put it.
It's a good way.
There's no other way for me to explain than just Kojima.
Perfect.
That's not a final thought.
Kojima.
Kojima. Final answer.
Kojima, final answer.
Harry, how you feel?
I feel like the same way after playing Metal Gear Solid. I'm lukewarm on the concept. There's some things that I think are easily highlighted in the game, but I think there's some other things that it's just like, what were you thinking? And I know a lot of people buy into the hype of the Metal Gear Solid franchise. I think people are overlooking the many flaws that can be easily found in these games. So having said that, like some of the things that I think are very outstanding with this game, I do like the concept behind it. And I was most engrossed in this game when it was the simple concepts in the game. Oh, let's go disarm the bombs. I like that. Like, it makes it feel like you are kind of like this, I guess, spy in the middle of like a mission, but then it gets too outlandish with all these concepts and supernatural almost elements that they throw into the game, that I like the core concept and I think they just overdo it. And I think one of the biggest flaws is just and I think I said this about the first game, the ratio of gameplay to storyline. The cutscenes are just outlandishly long. I mean, some of those, I swear, and I'm not even exaggerating, I think it was like 20 to 30 minutes just sitting there and watching cutscene after cutscene.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, I lose focus, and I'll just start hopping on my phone because I'm like, well, this isn't ending anytime soon. And it just takes me out of the moment that I think they could have easily broke up those segments. It was just a little too much, as I think the general theme of where I was coming from tonight.
Gotcha. You would hate 4 then. Mr. Clark.
Yeah, I'll tell you now, when we play 4, don't be like me where you try to think that you're going to beat the game at like 1:30 at night.
That would be 4:30.
No, seriously, there's an hour and a half long cutscene.
Oh, I know. I remember you
Yeah.
guys talking about it.
It's ridiculous. Mr. Clockmain.
All right, so I think this game, and for what it sets up for the next couple of games, I think it does an incredible job. I'm here for the complex military/sci-fi aspects of this game. I totally buy into it. I like that kind of stuff. I like incredibly complex storylines that you have to be able to connect the dots yourself, and I think that's important. And through all 3 acts of this, I really honestly think that they slowly just tack on more and more till you get to this mindfuck of an end. But as it then is distilled throughout the next couple of games, when you come back and play it again, you realize how powerful some of the themes at the end of this game are. And it's one of those things, I can see someone not liking it if they haven't seen the full picture yet. And when I originally played it, I was lukewarm on it as well because I hadn't seen the rest of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when you look at it as a single standalone, I don't think it's the best of the series. I think it's probably one of the most information-packed of the series, and I think there's a lot more codec here than there is meaningful cutscenes, but I still think it's an incredibly important game if you're going to play Metal Gear games, and I love it for it.
I'll agree with Clark. It is a very good game. They do a great justice when it comes to actually informing you a little bit about what's kind of going on out there. Obviously, it goes off the deep end at many points. I think actually playing through a second time, it took me out of the game a little bit more. I mean, granted, it's been about 7-8 years since I've actually played it last. It does kind of give you, with as story-driven as it is, I almost feel like they overdo it. And as much as praise that I kind of give this game overall, it really did take me back. And I don't know, I found myself enjoying it a little less because it just felt like, here's this giant bundle of information and we're going to jam it down your throat. I don't know. It's a weird balance. It was nice to come back, revisit it, play through again. It definitely hit on certain emotions, which I love getting that feeling out of a game when it can actually like hit that like in my chest. I'm like, oh shit, that just happened. I feel like it didn't actually stand up to what I remember it being, which was a little bit disappointing. That said, still happy we played, but with that, we're going to get into our score.
The score.
All right, final score. Ralph.
92.
Ooh, 92, looking at you.
Harry winced when I said 92.
You know what?
I can see it from here.
I'm curious now. Harry.
For different points, but I'll give it a 7.0, which is going to tie with the first Metal Gear Solid.
It's actually, that's fair. For myself, I would actually give this I'll give this an A-. I think is still under the last Metal Gear. So with that, Mr. Clark.
I'm going to give this 4 Striker missiles out of 3 Metal Gear Rays.
It's not enough to keep up. You're going to die.
I can like hear them like their like battle cry or whatever in my head.
It's terrible. All terrible. All right. Well, thank you everyone for sitting in with us for another exciting podcast and
mind-numbing episode of a podcast.
Mr. Solid Snake, find something to believe in, then believe it yourself.
Honestly, though, you have listened to the podcast for a long time. Don't you have anything else to do with your time?
I need scissors.
61?
61?
And just like the game, let's make an impact and then try to outdo that impact and then try to outdo that impact.
And then impact
It's
it
like
again.
a Michael Bay movie, but the explosions are high philosophical concepts.
Let's be honest, the implosions are in Harry's anus. So
His anus?
anus.
It's cool. I hate things that I don't understand, too.
Oh, you always fear what you don't understand.
Oh, I understood it. It's just too much.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
On that note, love you guys. Stay tuned.
Oh, what's our next game?
We're
For our
not,
sexy, sexy listeners out there.
are we doing
Let's not
that?
tell them
Our sexy listeners.
Yeah, fuck that.
Really?
That's going to be our season
Whoa!
3. Stay
Whoa!
sexy out there.
Stay sexy.
Oh, stay sexy.
Because
Sexy,
we're not
sexy.
saying I love you anymore because season 2 is done.
That's right. Harry said it's no go. So in that case, I love you, everybody. That
No.
will never die. Nope. Never die. Go ahead. Try to push the button. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Ow.
Join us next week for God of War. Kratos lives. Stay tuned, everybody.
Stay sexy.
Here we go.
Stay sexy out there. Stay sexy out there.
Stay sexy.
Stay sexy.
Stay sexy, everyone.
I love you.
I can't stop.
Oh, the finger guns! No! Harry, no!
I'm just gonna twirl my revolver around.
Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over. Game over.
Thanks for listening to Super Fun Game Review Podcast Go. Stay up to date on our Facebook at facebook.com/superfunpodcast.
So what if the story kicked off with him bungee jumping, but he mistimed it? It's just him flap against the side of the ship.
That's what you're laughing about.
Well, that'd be the worst $50 ever spent, period.